Ladies and gentlemen, the tournament is coming to an end, but we have the final four left. This has been one of the craziest tournaments in history, so we're going to talk about my final four predictions with Villanova, Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke. So let's get straight into the video. Now, Villanova had a very easy path to the final four. They got to play Delaware in the first round, which was, of course, a very easy win. Then they played Ohio State, which was a pretty easy win for them again. They won by 10, but they were up by 20 at one point. Then they played Michigan, the Sweet 16, and as long as they shut down Hunter Dickinson, they were going to win that game, and they shut him down. Then in the Elite Eight, they played Houston, which is a great team defensively, but they weren't good enough to stop Villanova. Now, Villanova will be without Justin Moore, and Justin Moore is a great three-point shooter. He can create his own shot very easily, and whenever you need a clutch three, he will be right there with it. And that is a huge loss for this Villanova team because Justin Moore is really the second best scorer on this team behind Colin Gillespie. So I expect Chris Arcidiacono to step up in his absence. So we'll see if he can really step up and fill those shoes. Now let's talk about North Carolina, who has really been a surprise team throughout this tournament. They were an 8 seed going into the tournament. They played Marquette in the first round, absolutely killed them. Then they upset Baylor in the round of 32, which I kind of expected because Baylor, like I said in my last video, is very weak, which they almost blew that lead, and they would have probably won by 40 if it weren't for the ejection of Brady Manick, who's been balling out this tournament. Then they beat UCLA. Then they ended the Cinderella run of St. Peter's. Rest in peace, Doug. North Carolina has a big three of Caleb Love, who has really been going off, especially the past two games of the tournament. Brady Manick, who's also really been great this entire tournament. And Armando Bacot, who's also been great. So really, those three players are their big three. And they will be playing Duke, the ultimate rivalry, finally meeting in the Final Four. This will be a great game, and it could really go either way. Now, in my opinion, Duke has had probably the hardest path to the Final Four throughout these four teams. Let's talk about that. They've played Michigan State in the round of 32. Then they would play Texas Tech. Then they'd play Arkansas, and now they're playing North Carolina, which is really a complete team. So this is a very tough road for them, and they're obviously scripting it for Coach K to win it in his final year. But wouldn't that be something if North Carolina was able to beat Duke and end Coach K's career in the Final Four? Now, Duke has really impressed me because they have a big three of Paulo Banchero, who will be a top 3 pick probably in this year's NBA draft, AJ Griffin, who will probably be a top 10 pick in this year's draft, and one of the best centers in the nation, Mark Williams. And they have a very young team, and they play a lot of more experienced teams, and they've been able to get wins against those teams, which makes me think they might be national championship ready. Now, Kansas has had a very easy path to the Final Four. They played Texas Southern in round 1. Then they played Creighton, which was really their toughest matchup so far, really up until now. Then they played the most overrated team in the country, Providence. Then they played a Cinderella team, Miami of Florida. And now they get to play a legit national championship team, Villanova. Great defense. I think it'll be a very tough matchup for Kansas. Now, Kansas, they are stacked at guard. You got Ojai Abaji. You also got Remy Martin, who's been coming off the bench. And when you got a guy like him coming off the bench, you know you're stacked. Then they also have Christian Braun, which really, I think their guard play, they're going to have to take advantage of that, especially since Villanova won't have one of their top guards, Justin Moore. Now let's talk about my predictions, and let's start off with the matchup of the century, Duke versus North Carolina. I got Duke winning this one because really, of course, North Carolina, they've been a very high-powered offense so far, but Duke, they've been shooting the ball better when it comes to percentage, of course, and really, they're more of a grit and grind team. I think they're going to edge out North Carolina. Villanova versus Kansas. Unfortunately, I think I got Kansas edging out Villanova. I think that Justin Moore, not having him will be a huge loss. And then finally, Kansas versus Duke in the national championship. I got Duke winning this one and Coach Krzyzewski going out with a win because, of course, they scripted for him. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.